Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here, and I just want to jump into this right away because I realized in my shotguns video, I talked for like 47 minutes. And that was mostly because I talked about a lot of just decent shotguns that I would recommend, rather than just getting to the good stuff, and I apologize for that. So, moving on, I'm going to do now my grenade video. But for grenades, I'm going to basically talk about who you would want to use it on, or the situations you would use it in. Um, I really cut out some of the bad grenades. I'm basically just going to talk about the creme de la creme. There are some grenades that have a couple different variants though, so I am going to be talking briefly about those as well. So let's get this started with the Contraband Skyrocket. The Contraband Skyrocket is a kind of controversial grenade. Basically, when the grenade detonates, when you throw the grenade, it flies up into the air, kind of similar to kind of like a firework, before creating a giant burst of fireworks. When I say giant burst, I mean no matter what you're doing. That is a tiny picture. The blast radius is always 1,000, which is almost maximum range. I believe that is the maximum radius. The damage scales with the character's level, meaning this is good no matter regardless of whether you were level 1, level 70, or level 72, depending on your game. However, it only deals fire damage. It can be kind of difficult to hit once you learn how to throw it correctly. I kind of find you have to throw it kind of at your feet, not necessarily directly at your feet, but kind of throw it downwards towards your enemy in order to get them right in the blast radius. This can be obtained as a downloadable bonus, included with the pre-release limited edition, the deluxe Vault Hunters edition, the ultimate loot chest, the collector's edition pack, and the Game of the Year edition. This is actually a really easy grenade to get, and if you're not able to get it, it comes with literally every new character on whoever has this bonus. So if you know someone who's able to get Contraband Skyrockets, literally just ask them to give you one if you want one. This is such an easy grenade to get. In pre-sequel, you can get it. It was only available during the first couple days of the Doppelganger pack release, and could only be obtained by destroying specific barrels. However, it's also a pretty easy grenade to get, and supposedly it drops randomly during you can randomly just find them during 4th of July, apparently, because they sometimes do that. This is a pretty easy grenade to get, though if you're unopposed to using a thing like Cheat Engine, Super Fun Time Engine, or Border Tool, it's really not that big of a sin to just make one. If you want a fun grenade that scales with whose damage scales with your level, just make a Contraband Skyrocket. If you don't like it, sell it. If you do like it, keep it. Moving on is the spell grenades from the Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep DLC, the Fireball, Firestorm, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and both magic missiles. The Fireball, all of these grenades are Molly 1 grenades that do a nice amount of damage and have the ability to regenerate grenade ammo. The Fireball throws a slow-moving fireball that has a huge splash damage. The Firestorm throws a fireball that then produces 4 more fireballs, essentially meaning that the Firestorm is 5 times more powerful. The Lightning Bolt throws a lightning bolt, which acts kind of similarly to a longbow grenade. The Chain Lightning is identical, except the lightning bolt arc to nearby targets, essentially kind of being like, a Vladoff version of a longbow grenade, I guess one could say. The Magic Missile throws 2 homing slag grenades that have a nice size splash radius, as in like individual child grenade. Each of the individual projectiles can probably slag 2 to 3 targets at minimum. The blue version has 2, and the purple version has 4. These spell grenades can all be obtained from the various wizards/sorcerers in the game. If you find them, pick them up. They're all really good. That's all I'm going to say on those. They all have their various uses. You'll know when to use them. basically, if you have an enemy, if you have a bunch of enemies with shields, use lightning. If you have a bunch of flesh enemies, use fire. And just use, I basically just always keep a magic missile on me. Magic missile is such an amazing grenade mod. Next up is Breath of Terramorphous. Breath of Terramorphous is kind of controversial. It is the only E-Tech grenade in Borderlands 2, obtained as a rare drop from Terramorphous Invincible, though let's be honest, everything on Terramorphous is a rare drop. It's always fire, and it has a huge area of effect that basically randomly spawns geysers of flame. This isn't really that amazing of a grenade because it's hard to hit things, though it does do a good amount of damage. It's just really not that worth farming for. However, if one drops, pick it up. It's pretty cool to use, especially if you're fighting a lot of enemies or if you're just fighting a good number of enemies in a large area. Next up is the Bouncing Bonnie. The Bouncing Bonnie is a Bouncing Betty grenade that has increased damage, blast radius, and reduced fuse time. It again is a Bouncing Betty type grenade that disperses trialed grenades with each bounce. It's really good. On a similar note is the Bouncing Baza, which is basically a randomly obtained grenade, but is basically the pre-sequel's equivalent of the Bouncing Bonnie. Both of which are, they're both worth picking up, though Bouncing Baza is arguably harder to get, while the Bouncing Bonnie is also a random loot source, but, you know, there's more red chests, I find. It's easier to get them from red chests in Borderlands 2. Lastly is the Crossfire, which is the last of the 3 doll grenades. It is a Seraph vendor grenade that can be obtained from the Badass creator of Badassitude. It has increased damage and blast radius, and acts like a standard issue Bouncing Betty grenade, but releases grenades as well as bullets. It's basically just the Bouncing Betty / Bouncing Baza, but better. It also can come in all elements. So a slag version is amazing at just chucking one into a battlefield and then just murdering everything that's slagged that doesn't die. Next up are 2 grenades that are really powerful that most people have an issue using. And those are the Fastball and the Snowball. The Fastball's equivalent is exclusive to Borderlands 2 and can be obtained from Bowl in 3 Horns Divide. Basically, you have to do the In Memoriam quest in order to unlock him. But meaning you can basically unlock the ability to farm for this grenade mod about a 1/5 of the way through the story. It has 0 fuse time, really, really high damage, and fast travel speed. This is basically a longbow. It's a short-range longbow grenade because it just basically just flies across the battlefield. It has really small blast radius though, but basically when you throw this grenade, if you hit something, things die. As you can see, this level 31 grenade has a grenade damage of over 6,100. That is crazy for a grenade. I'm just gonna pull up. I'm not gonna do this very often. I'm just gonna pull up the. Oh, that is the lowest level version. Okay, this OP8 version, however. Oh, look at that damage. Just look at that. Over 25 million damage for a single grenade. That is crazy. Yeah, literally, if you have a ruby or a grog nozzle, I have run around with just fastballs, slagging people with the grog or ruby, and then just fastballing them to death. It is awesome. And because it's early obtained in the game and is a good a good grenade, this makes it a really nice choice if you don't want to have to try to get the spell grenades and things. This is a phenomenal grenade on Krieg, especially because Krieg has abilities that give you free grenades. Next up is the Snowball. The Snowball is basically the pre-sequel's equivalent. Unlike the Fastball, which can come in all elements, all elements except for slag, the Snowball only comes in cryo. In the Infinite Loop side quest, you can obtain this for disabling Dan Trap. It always deals cryo, but other than that is basically just the Fastball, but cryo. Unfortunately, The fastball cannot be obtained in Borderlands the pre-sequel, though the snowball is your best bet. It can also be obtained as early as level 17, apparently, as a mission that you can get pretty early in the game. I would recommend getting one. It's a phenomenal grenade. Next up is the first of 3 Maliwan transfusion grenades, and that is the Kiss of Death. The Kiss of Death can be obtained from the mission Hell Hath No Fury in Borderlands 2, as well as from the Moxie weapon crate in the Home Sweet Home mission. Basically, the grenades are guaranteed homing and sticky. After sticking to an enemy, it deals damage over time until the target dies or the grenade detonates. After exploding, it sends out life orbs that heal you. It does not release child grenades upon detonation. Basically, the child grenade count, seen up here near the grenade damage, is the number of the life orbs it releases. It does have really high damage compared to other transfusion grenades, though. And it can also come in literally every element, including non-elemental explosive versions, for some reason, despite being an elemental grenade, despite being a Molly one. Next up is the Leech. The Leech is a legendary transfusion. It can be obtained from the Warrior or the Handsome Sorcerer. It can be obtained in pre-sequel too, but its source is not listed. It has lower damage and lower blast radius, but all damage done by the grenade instantly restores your ally's health. Basically, it's a good tactical support grenade. I believe it heals the health of everyone, but I could be wrong. Healing trails is disappearing after healing. Yeah, so it does have the healing trails. Basically, if you find one, like if the Warrior drops one, pick it up. It might be worth having. It's a good grenade on 0 if you don't have a Kiss of Death, or if you aren't able to get this next grenade, the O negative. The O negative can be obtained from the Seraphender in the Badass Crater of Badassitude on normal or True Vault Hunter mode, and is a possible drop from Pyro Pete, the Invincible in Ultimate Vault Hunter. It has increased damage, increased effect radius, and unfortunately increased fuse time. But again, a fuse time of 1.2 seconds isn't really that big of a deal. Basically, this is the strongest of the 3 transfusion grenades, though is kind of arguably the hardest to get. If you want to use a transfusion grenade, take your pick from the 3. The Leech and the Kiss of Death are available in pre-sequel, though in kind of limited quantities. Next up is the first of 3 Vladoff grenades. I am not really going to go that big. I'm not really going to go that long on all 3 of these because they're basically all the same grenade. Literally, the only difference between these 3 grenades is that they are different elements. The Fire Bee is the Vladoff area of effect grenade that basically does fire. It shoots fire and basically shoots small fire missiles as well. The Pandemic basically is corrosive. It has mini corrosive grenades and just corrosive gas everywhere. And then is the Stormfront, which has Tesla grenades that have other baby Tesla grenades and just electricity everywhere. Also, the child grenades can stick to walls and other non-horizontal surfaces. So yeah, if you just want to have a large amount of elemental damage in an area of effect, get this. The Fire Bee is essentially a easier version of the Firestorm to get. The Fire Bee, unfortunately, has no specific loot source. The Stormfront can drop from Lee, Mike, Dan, or Raph in the Bloodshot Stronghold, though in order to unlock them, you have to do the Splitter Group side quest. So, if you're going to do that, you can also get the Great Shotgun reward for it. The Pandemic, however, drops from Mortar in Sawtooth Cauldron. Ironically, all 5 of these characters are rats. So basically, if you find a rat who has a name, kill them, they might drop a grenade. Next up is the Quasar. The Quasar can drop from Ultimate Badass Varkids in Borderlands 2, making it kind of a hard grenade to get, as well as drop from Felicity Rampant in Borderlands the pre-sequel. I put this one right after the Storm because the Quasar is kind of similar. The Quasar is a Hyperion grenade, though, and as such is always a Singularity grenade, However, it has reduced damage, but a huge blast radius. It has a larger singularity pull and a larger Tesla effect, making this just phenomenal at clearing out enemies with electric damage. Also, enemies pulled within the blast radius suffer damage over time until the explosion occurs. So basically, if you just want to do tons and tons of electric damage, this is, in my opinion, the go-to. Especially if you just want to clear a room without using the skyrocket or something similar. Next up is the first of two Merv grenades. Now, that's first up is the bonus package. The bonus package can be obtained from Boom and Bume in the Southern Shelf, so, literally the second story mission in-game. It can also be obtained from the Torgue vending machines in the Badass Crater of Badassitude, and in pre-sequel it can be obtained from Torque Badasses or Torque Queens, as well as occasionally appearing in the Marcus Munition vending machines. I actually have obtained, I think, 2 bonus packages from vending machines. They're pretty easy to find, actually, and they're a phenomenal grenade. They have higher than normal damage for Merv grenades, and when each child grenade explodes, it releases an additional child grenade. So this 10 that you see on grenade damage, the times 10, is really more like times 20. It's just a great grenade for dealing lots of damage in a massive amount of area, but the only thing better than that is the Meteor Shower, which is a Seraph Merv grenade obtained from the Seraph vendor in the Badass Crater of Badassitude. It has increased damage and an increased number of child grenades, and it lobs the child grenades in a higher arc, meaning they're a bigger spread than the bonus package, but because there is an increased amount of grenades when the child grenades release their child grenades, there's just more grenades all around. This one says times 11. I think I saw one that was times 12 though. So basically, if you just want a bonus package that does more damage in a wider spread, go for the Meteor Shower. It does cost Seraph Crystals though. As you can see, this level 51 costs 120. Though, if you're good at farming raid bosses, that shouldn't be that big of a deal. Last 2 grenades, both of these are pre-sequel exclusive, is the Data Scrubber, obtained from Chip in Chip's Data Mining Adventure, which is a side quest from the Claptastic Voyage DLC. The Data Scrubber has a very slow travel speed, unfortunately, but it does spawn, it does have high damage, and it does regenerate ammo over time, similarly to the 6 spell grenades. It spawns homing shield boosters upon damaging enemies, and the fuse time is always 0. This is basically kind of like the Leech or the O negative, except instead of health, it's shield. Basically, if you are a fan of Molly 1 grenades, but kind of want something similar to a booster shield, the Data Scrubber might be the grenade for you. It unfortunately only comes in shock, but each of the homing shield boosters restores 25% of your shield, so this works really well with turtle shields as well as amp shields. It's a good grenade. It's one of the 3 best grenades, that being the Data Scrubber, the next grenade, which is the Meganade, and the Snowball. So if you want a good grenade and you have a shield that for some reason is always going down, check out the Data Scrubber. It's literally better than the Hard Reboot, which is the other item you could get from Chip's Data Mining Adventure. The Hard Reboot is basically kind of like the little Eevee pistol, but worse. So check this one out. Finally, the Meganade. I saved arguably the best for last. The Meganade can be obtained from either Self-Loathing or Despair, located in the subconscious in the Claptastic Voyage DLC. Unlike literally every other Singularity grenade, which only produces 1 singularity, the Meganade produces 3 singularities. Basically meaning that no matter what happens, everything will be sucked in the area, and then it explodes. It can come in literally all elements, including non-elemental explosive damage. This is a phenomenal weapon to have in your arsenal. This is basically crowd control central. If you are a fan of characters like Wilhelm, or Nisha, or Claptrap, and you just want enemies to stay still as you murder them instantly, pick up a Meganade. Anyway, thank you all for watching. my grenade video. I know this was about half the time of my shotgun video, so thank you all for putting up with me. Until next time, I'm Metagross Freak, and seriously, pick up one of these grenades. They're all amazing. Bye!